Hey, welcome to my channel, everyone. I'm going to be building a Warhammer 40k Watchtower today out of scraps. Predominantly the base will be made from this leftover foam insulation from my house, nice and thick, 50mm. It's ideal for carving, just need to get rid of the silver paper top and bottom, and then carving can go nice. I find this foam really easy to carve. I just use a old bread knife. Cuts in nice and easy. The serrated edges just stop it sticking. I found if I use a flat blade, it sticks a lot, so just a nice saw in action, and it gives you some nice texture as you cut as well. Once you get a basic shape, you can just put a few verticals, and then don't forget to put some horizontals in, representing cracks in the rock face, deterioration over time. That just adds a little bit of depth and contrast to the rock face. And just use your knife or whatever tool you use and just gouge out a few little bits here and there just to give a bit more texture and roughness. And there we have it, basic shape. Just going to put a little door in here for orcs or whatever figures you want to get through and up to the tower above. And then look for a base to put on, so you can just sort of set the scene, put some sand and gravel around it, some tufts, and that'll just make it blend in a little bit better to other scatter terrain. You can butt up other terrain close to it, and just generally looks nicer. Just mark out the areas, cut it with the saw, and then I'll probably chamfer off the edges so it goes, it doesn't look so square. There we go. Glue the foam to the board. Not taking any particular care on this, you can just squidge it around, and then don't forget to put a weight on top of it, otherwise that'll be off the board if you don't keep an eye on it. It's going to make the door now for the base. And just making that out of an old Christmas cake base. It's got a really nice texture on it. Just measuring the door to about 40mm. Should be enough room for 28mm or 32mm figures, and doesn't look too low. Not sure if this is going to be orc or some kind of post-apocalyptic yet. I'll make up my mind towards the end. I'm just using white PVA glue just to stick on a load of strips, just give it that reinforced look, and then I'll cut a load of studs out later just to give it that beefy look. The glue on this board dissipates a bit, so just because of the shiny surface, but it does stick eventually. Texture is too nice not to use. Then just use an old nail just to pick up the pieces and stick them on. There we have it, door in. I did the hatch on the top of the rock as well, just to match. Same sort of figures, that'll be painted up all rusty, and I started putting some barricading on the edge. Just used the bread knife, cut a slit and just whacked in the board. So that's probably about 2 inches in, so that's not going anywhere. And just put a little bit of dabber glue on it. Put a few platforms on the edge as well, just to give it a bit of interest and supports underneath. And then looking at sort of raising the tower, so you got an additional platform and a place for your figures to sleep, eat, drink, get ready to fight. Just going to glue in the main platform. This will be the last thing I'll do tonight, and then I'll just put in a few sidewalls. Just use Gorilla Glue and just put the same brick on and left that for an hour until it went off. And then just to wrap up for today, I'll just put in the sidewalls for that so I can start fresh again in the morning. Okay, next day, last night before I called it a day, I just added the 2 support frames there and just put the front edge of the Watchtower part on and then glued a few panels. I'll put some rivets on those today, and then just put some few overlapping panels on the lower deck as well, just to give it that ramshackle look. Again, I'll put some rivets or bolt heads on it, and you can see the hatch turned out pretty well as well. I'll put a wall in here today and a platform on there just to create the next platform for interest, and put some antenna arrays on just to make it look like a communication tower or something. Put a little ladder going up to it as well. Okay, let's get to work. I'm going to try and use this exhaust off a model car. Looks pretty interesting. Put it coming out the bottom of the base, and then perhaps going up the side. Could be used for anything. Could be a little generator inside, whatever you want, whatever your imagination wants to take you. Just going to add some nice interesting rivet detail now. Again, same process I did the door, just cut out a load of square bits of card, just stick them on any old how. The more irregular the better if it's going to be post-apocalyptic or orcish. And that just adds some nice depth and detail. Looks really good when it's painted, and when you start highlighting it, all the bolt heads just show up really well. Just adds that little extra special part of the model. Time to put some more detail on the tower, so let's start filling in. Put some walls and platforms inside the tower, and these are just made up of styrofoam and hot glued into place. I just pre-measured them before I made this video, just to allow me a bit more time. With the hot glue, goes off really quick. Just did a really simple metal plate for the actual roof. There'll be a load of sand and everything bunged around there, so it sort of will give it a bit more interest and contrast and fill the gaps in as well. Just imagine where sandstorms would have blown over the tower and left loads of deposits. So that's the effect I'm going for here. Nice and simple. Just going to start making the antenna array now. Just start off with a toothpaste tube cap, and then just take a normal sort of plastic pen, just stripped out the parts and reverse the tip, so that just allows the insert cartridge just to protrude through and look like an antenna. Just gives you a bit more height, and just hot glue all the pieces together. Turns out alright when it's painted. Obviously looks rubbish right now. Just had to thicken up the base of the pen, just wrapped an old business card around, just hot gluing it in place, and that gave it the right thickness to pop it into the top of the toothpaste tube cap. Back walls in, and I'm going to use this paintbrush to cut in half, and then I'll try and make a set of stairs out of it and put it up to the next platform. Put a few twigs across for the rungs and turned out okay. The excess from those two paintbrushes just make two more antennas on the front of the tower. Show you those later. Just gluing in some boulders which are made up from some sprayed foam, and just chipped off all the ones with nice detail and just stuck them down with hot glue. That just adds some nice contrast when all the sand, fillers, dry grass and everything gets stuck in. Okay, paint now. Probably the same as most people. PVA glue mixed in with some black masonry paint, which is acrylic based, and I put some rusty colour in there as well, just to give it a dark brown look, just for a nice base coat. And the idea is just to seal in all the foam, the cardboard, and just pull all the detail in together. Trying to leave some of the paint on for a bit of texture as well. And that'll look really good when you go to the sort of the rusting stage. And the rock face, obviously, the more detail and contrast you can get, the better. So yeah, just slap it on, and it's also good for the MDF base, just seals up those pores on the front, so you're not putting a continuous amount of paint on and glue to finish it off. Okay, just going to spray paint now outside. You can see nice weather, frosty, snow. Shouldn't affect the spraying. Just going to give it a nice black acrylic spray all over, just to get into any parts I didn't get to. You can see a few there. I'm going to try and use the red oxide whilst the black is still wet, and then that will just spread into the black and give it a nice blended look. You can see the red oxide is blended nicely in with the black, and then we'll just go over with a few more layers, get the top tower part done with all the rusty parts, and then we can just base colour the rock face. So just coming on to the brown acrylic base paint again, and just give a base colour for the rock. Try not to overspray it, because all those nice dark patches will form a good bit of depth for that rock face on the final product. So not quite from above, because we need to get underneath, but just nice and light little sprays, and that's how I achieve that technique. Remember, this will get paint on top as well, so we're not after a final finish at this stage, just basing. Just putting a light beige on, just to flock over a little bit, just to bring out some detail, just to add again another nice little bit of depth, and then we'll put some more colours on top. Going to go for like a toffee colour finish, and again acrylic military type paint, and then this will just give you that extra bit of colour. Again, a variation, so when we tie in later with the highlights and adding in final colours, all those will still come through, so they're not covering each other up, you will get to see them. So try not to obliterate the lower layer below. Just going to use a green, hadn't used this for a while, so I think it comes out almost black to start with, but then the colour comes out. Happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. Nice bit of black there, and then it eventually goes to green. And again, you won't see most of that green, but you'll see little hints of it coming through on the highlights. Just a few sprays here and there. And then just a nice desert colour, and again just highlight some of the areas just to bring out some different tones. And then when you go to the dry brushing, all that will get blended in nicely. Not bad for base colouring. A lot of work done already. It's a case of just topping up now. Okay, let's get back in the warm. Finish off this model. I'm going to leave it there for the moment because that's quite a long video already, just over 17 minutes. So I'll do another video of the final paint finish and sprucing up details. So just look out for my next video. Hopefully you enjoy this one. Just please subscribe, it really helps me out just to get started on YouTube, and press the like button. Thanks for watching, everyone.